In this video, I'm going to talk about the 3D solid modeling tools. We talked about 2D modeling tools in the last video, so we're going to kind of go through 3D. Now, there are several different ways that you can do this. For this class, I'm going to teach the sketch model method, or what I refer to the sketch modeling method, where we require a sketch of everything first, and then we create a 2D sketch first, and then we create our solid models from there. So I'm going to start, and again, we kind of create a sketch on whichever surface or whichever plane we want to start with, either the front, top, or um, right side, left side, bottom, so we can kind of select all the different planes that we could see up here in our view cube. So in this case, I selected the top. Generally, it depends on how I'm approaching these problems, whether I want to sketch on the front plane, the side plane, or the top plane. You'll learn a little bit more as we go through. But once I have that sketch, and in this case, it's just a rectangle sketch, I can finish that out. Here, notice I'm still in the isometric view. But then I have the ability to have different types of tools. And again, this week, some of our practice, as we continue to practice, will be using these different 3D solid modeling tools. So I have the extrude tool. Most of you are already familiar with this, where I can select it and then extrude that up or down as far as the geometric shape. Now, it is important to know that on a sketch, I have to have what is referred to as a closed sketch. So if you are ever trying to use some of these and it doesn't let you select on it, it is because your sketch is not closed. You have some broken geometry in there. You need to find where that broken geometry is and close it off. So I have what we call a revolve, where we can revolve things around an axis. That's a very useful tool for a lot of shapes. We have the hole creation tool. In our sketch, we can create a hole just by putting a circle in the sketch and then extruding around it. So that's not really, if we do have actual hole patterns where we're specifying size of holes and multiple holes, the better way and better method to do that is to actually create and use the hole tool, because we can put tap sizes, counterbore, countersinks. There's lots of additional features that we can use and do in our mechanical drawings using the whole 3D hole creation tool. We have what we call a rectangular pattern, and then you have some of these create forms. Now, I'm going to go over some of the create forms just to show you what they are. They're a little different. I don't really use this too much myself, but I know that some people like those. So let's click down the drop down arrow here too, just so you can kind of see. We can create a new component. You can create a sketch, create form, derive. So the main things here that we're going to be using is extrude, revolve, sweep. I love the loft tool. That's one of my favorites. We can create what's referred to as ribs. So we've got a web, we've got an emboss where we can emboss stuff. Here's the hole tool and the thread tool. And then these are our actual form tools here as well. So a box, cylinder, sphere, torus, a coil, and a pipe. So we'll get to be more familiar with those as well. We do and can use the pattern tool. So for example, if I put a hole in a part, then I can come down here and put the pattern and say I got 4 counterbore holes. I can do a rectangular pattern, or I can do a circular pattern. There's pattern on a path, so different types of patterns that can be done with this. We can also mirror stuff as well. We've got a thickening tool. What is referred to as a boundary fill. So several different types of tools here that we can be used. Now, just like in our 2D sketches, we also have the way to modify some of these. So we've got a press pull tool, we've got a fillet tool, we've got the chamfer tool, and again, every time you hold the mouse and cursor over it, it'll pop up, kind of explain what that is. We've got what is referred to as a shell tool. I like that one. We can create a draft, which more or less kind of puts a taper on our designs. We can scale things up or down. We can combine objects, we can offset certain things, we can replace, we can split a body, silhouette, split. Um, so there's several different types of tools here in the modify as well. Move and copy, align, we can delete stuff, we can remove stuff, make arrangements, simplify. We can make changes to the actual material of the design that we're doing. We can add color or other types of appearances to it. There's what's referred to as a volumetric lattice. We can, if we don't have materials, we can kind of get some other materials in here. We're not really going to be doing too much parametric modeling in this class, but we can kind of do some other types of more advanced things with some of the tools that are in here. So that's the modify tool. We will get more into some of the assembly tools here and configure what these construct are down the road, where we can kind of set some different types of planes. So you will use some of these tools to more or less offset a plane and create some other geometry as we're creating these parts. Of course, you also still have your inspection tool, just like we did in the 2D tools as well. So you've got different types of tools in here that are 3D. Some of these are pretty advanced and complex, some of them not so much. So we're going to get to as many of these as we can. And as we start to learn how to use the software, but I'm going to try to kind of keep things a little bit more simple, where we draw sketches and then use some of the different types of extrude, revolve, loft, sweep. We'll kind of go through some of those first here before we get into some of the more advanced type of modeling. Now, what I'm talking about with that is there are two types of modeling when we're designing actual machinery or equipment. There's what's kind of referred to as a top-down design or a bottom-up design. So when I tend to draw parts first and then create them as an assembly, but you could kind of draw your assembly first and then kind of add parts in as you go. So I just happen to kind of design parts and then create the assembly because that was the way I was taught 30 years ago, and that's the way I've been doing designing. So it's easier for me to kind of conceptualize that. But depending on where you go, some people prefer the other method as well, and find that it's easier to do in that way. But that's kind of what some of these assembly here are in these tools too, and what's kind of referred to as that, depending on the design method that you're actually going through. All right, so that's going to wrap this particular video up of our 3D tools. The main ones that I want you to be getting familiar with for this class is going to be extrude, revolve, sweep, loft. We'll do a little bit with rib and emboss. We'll definitely be doing holes here too, and the mirror. So we'll be using the mirror and pattern tools. So those are the tools here as far as the create tools that you need to get to know. And of course, we'll be using the fillet, the chamfer, the shell, the draft. So we might use a few of these others. We'll definitely be doing some stuff with the physical material and the appearance of the parts when we create those. But those will probably be primarily the tools that we use in terms of 3D tools here in this class. So get to know and get familiar with those and the activities that follow.